Okay, well, thank you guys for the patience with getting started here. I am Casey Binder, and I am a senior here this year, and this will be my 5th year with Branson School Online. I started when I was in 7th grade, and so I kind of had to figure all this out. It was new waters for me, but I've found how much I really love Branson and picked it up kind of right away, I guess. My first tip for you guys is not to just go into your week winging it. Don't enter it without a plan, I guess. To prepare for each week, it's probably best to check Blackboard already the Friday before the beginning week, or even over the weekend as your teachers are uploading things. Sometimes there are teachers who don't open up next week till early Monday morning, but maybe try to plan ahead as much as you can, because sometimes you'll end up with multiple projects during one week and you'll want to make sure that you have enough time. There will be some weeks where you won't have any projects, and then there will be other weeks where you might have 2 or 3 PowerPoints that are due, and so you want to make sure you have your schedule out. So absolutely make a plan for the work that you're going to complete every day. Kind of know what you want to get done that day and whether you're staying on task enough or not. And I found that for me, Excel is especially useful. I can make a pretty big spreadsheet checklist in there. Handwriting has worked in the past. I don't do that as much anymore. And this year in orientation, they had each of us create one in a Word doc. And so that works really well too. It can simplify things and help you to just make an easy checklist. Sometimes I color code or I use fonts and include day-to-day reminders and stuff and kind of spice it up a little bit, but you also don't want to get bogged down in just making a checklist. You want to actually get your work done. So the Word docs can definitely simplify everything, or the Google Docs, sorry, but it makes it a lot easier that way sometimes. This is a schedule example that I had, I think, from last year, where I kind of color-coded each of my classes, and then I wrote down all of the different things I needed to do. That one kind of is a little bit crazy, but then this one is kind of just an example of what I did for our orientation this year, where it was a lot simpler, and sometimes that works better if you just need a concrete black and white typed out version of what you're going to do that week, and then you don't have any distractions and you know exactly what you have to do. My next thing is to make reminders for yourself. Whether for schoolwork that's due a certain day, or a form for a class or a program, or for appointments or errands outside of school, you don't want to forget anything, because your schedule is going to get really full really fast. I know as a freshman your schedule might be crazy already, but it will get more and more crazy as you continue to go on through each grade. And so as a senior, I definitely see how crazy things can get now. And so making yourself these reminders is going to be a lifesaver. Even if you remember without the reminder, there will be something that you will eventually forget. So some ways to do this are paper reminders. You can stick sticky notes everywhere. Phone alarms or calendar events have worked really well for me, because then I have everything on one calendar. And then you can also write or type these reminders on your school schedule so that you see it every time that you look at your work for the week. That way you're reminded of exactly when you need to get things done. So those are a couple of the ways that I can remind myself, and I've worked in the past. You also want to spend more time actually doing your work than planning it out. Plans are great, and they can help to keep you on track and know what needs to be done, but after a little while you can kind of get bogged down in those details, and they'll hurt you more than help you. So make sure you get your classes scheduled out first, and then you can go on to picking out individual assignments for when you want to do them, when you have time to do them. Choose a schedule type and reminder system that work for you, like we talked about in the last couple slides, and as soon as you get that schedule, go ahead and get right to work. Instead of just saying, oh good, I have my schedule, now I can do something else. No, and I can get stuck in that too. So you got to, as soon as you get it done, go ahead and start working. It'll put you in a much clearer mindset to be working, even though you may not feel like you want to. Another thing is to take notes. Some people hate to take notes. I was not a big believer in note-taking at first, but note-taking has really helped me through many of my classes. I shared this last year, but I used to hate math. I was okay at it, but I did not like it at all. And so after mostly because I didn't understand it. I didn't slow down enough to actually understand it. And so my freshman and sophomore years, I started taking notes on math like crazy because I was determined to do well in my math subjects without stressing myself out. And so I've actually learned to love math now, and it has become one of my favorites. It wasn't at first though, but note-taking helped me to be able to understand it and therefore actually like it. So handwriting things in subject-specific notebooks is a great tool and something that I did with my math and something that I have to continue to mostly do with my math, whether I handwrite it in the notebook or sometimes for math like Pearson, you can actually print off your homework assignments and then you work them out on the paper and know that it's a little bit time consuming and everything, but you're going to need to take that time to make sure that you get your school done like you need to in order to excel. So even if you don't want to write any more than you have to, and sometimes I'm this way for a class that maybe is a little bit easier or takes a little bit less time, and a lot of teachers are really good about putting in PowerPoints. And so you can also just type notes on there sometimes, or you can use the snipping tool, which I'm going to show you how to use in a minute, and just paste some stuff onto the document. And that makes it really easy to whether take extra notes or take notes on a class that kind of fits with. And so go on to the next part here. I just show a little bit on the snipping tool. Once you bring up the snipping tool, you can like search it in the bar that's usually about right down here in the bottom left-hand corner. You just search snipping tool and it'll come up like this little box, this little rectangle. And if you click on options, you can actually do all these different things, like tell it to always copy the snips to the clipboard so that you don't have to worry about clicking something like this copy button over here or anything. This is how you actually take a picture with the snipping tool. You click on new and usually it'll have it set to a box. And then you just drag, and when you let go, it takes a snip, and then you can do all sorts of different things with that, whether it's mark it up with a highlighter, a pen, save it, erase stuff, kind of whatever you need to do with it. It's a really nice tool, and I've been able to take a lot of screenshots of things where I don't want the full screen or it's easier not to mess with those buttons. The snipping tool is really helpful. All right, so here's a notebook example of some of my notes. This is from a couple years ago in pre-calc, I think, yeah, actually last year in the fall semester. But I kind of had my own way of taking notes. The bigger things are kind of plus signs, and then I went on down and I would take, whether it was numbers, and then for math I would also write down practice problems, which was huge for me to be able to see how things were actually worked out, not just know the information about how to do it, but actually be able to solve a problem and have a practice problem with me. So that kind of format was helpful to me. Handwriting notes is definitely a good thing. Next thing is don't take unplanned breaks. And I know that it's tempting to think that we'll just do one more thing after you start taking a break, and then you get kind of stuck in that and you don't want to go back to work. Or you think that you're going to do something, oh, just real quick, I'll go do that real quick, and then I'll be back, and then I will work. And usually you won't, because you'll get stuck in wanting to do something else. And so battling that makes things extremely difficult, but you can help yourself with this by giving yourself an incentive or a planned break once you finish an assignment or assignment set. So for example, I put on here, if I finish this week's chemistry work, then I can draw for half an hour before my next DI, or I can do something else that I like to do for just a little bit longer, and then I have to get back to work. That way I feel like I have achieved something by getting all this chemistry work done or whatever else, and then I know that I still have to go back to work no matter what. And so it keeps me on schedule, but it also gives you a reason to want to get all that work done. And that's something that has worked pretty well for me. So again, with that, flee distraction. Distraction is definitely your enemy. You can listen into your background and listen to music in the background, just don't become preoccupied with it. Music can really help you focus if you listen to the right thing. And you also want to kind of retreat to a quiet place away from loud pets or family members or social media, anything that will kind of distract you. You're going to want to try to make yourself a school space that is away from that. So try your best to stay on task and find yourself a place that isn't going to distract you needlessly. You can also eliminate background distractions. So like I talked about, music can really help you focus, but it kind of has to be the right type of music. Otherwise, it can be more distracting than focusing. So you can listen to the radio or CDs or relaxation loops or apps or sites like Spotify that can only be used for music. YouTube can be a killer because you think you want to listen to music and then everything else pops up and you just think, oh, well, I can watch this video, I can do this. And it really isn't helpful. So Spotify or something that is just going to keep you on the music, or a CD or the radio, is very helpful. One of our mentors from last year, Benjamin, he worked on this slide, and he actually found this site called Stay Focused that if you really love YouTube and loved listening to music on YouTube, whether it's on your iPad or whatever, you can actually listen to YouTube or watch YouTube for 10 minutes and then it'll lock you out for the rest of the day. So, and you can change the amount of time. That way you absolutely have to make sure that you stay focused. So like you put down here, don't listen to like random music videos or anything else. You want to make sure that it's actually going to help you if it's music and not hurt you. If you're overwhelmed with things, take some time to relax and evaluate for yourself what breaks or distractions actually look like. If you ever feel yourself getting so overwhelmed or constantly distracted to the point where you can't get anything done, you're going to need to just go take a break, because you're going to stay in that mode of not being able to get anything else done until you give your brain a minute to relax. So some things that you can do on breaks that will actually get you refocused, instead of doing something like going on social media where it just bogs down your brain more, get away from the computer for a little bit and maybe go outside for a little while. That really helps your brain to just relax for a minute, and then you can focus so much better. Or you can practice something else that you enjoy, whether it's music or art or anything else. Or you can be creative and just write something that you really want to write if you're a writer, or just do something that you love that isn't exactly computer related, that's going to give you a little bit of a break. That way it will kind of get you in that mode of getting something done. That way you have incentive to come back and get your school done. And with that, you're going to want to position yourself for success. I talked about finding a quiet space for yourself where everything is where you need it and you don't have many distractions, but everybody is a little bit different. That looks a little bit different for everyone. And so I sometimes travel a little ways around the house, but I usually am at my kitchen table. That way I don't have any distractions. I'm sitting up in a posture where I feel ready to work and all my stuff is around me, and I don't have to go too far to get what I need. And I guess it works best for me to not wear pajamas and everything and get stuff done, but it's different for everybody. But it helps for me to think of it like a job, or like everybody, like I'm going to a brick and mortar school where everybody's going to be watching me. You want to make sure that you present yourself in a way and or get yourself into a mindset that you'll actually want to keep working with. It's very easy to distract yourself or let yourself slide. So with that, you want to look for help, because it is there if you look for it. It may be cliche, but you can't be afraid to ask questions. I've been there, and it doesn't help you in the long run. You think that you can get something done, or you think that you don't need any help, or, oh, it'll take too long to ask a question. Well, asking a question is a whole lot shorter and a whole lot easier than going ahead with something and then realizing later on that you didn't really know what you were doing, or you weren't really sure on that, and then you just did a whole part of an assignment wrong. And so whether it's that issue or whether it's needing help with a subject that you really don't understand, you can ask your family members. If they are knowledgeable or they are right there for you, then ask them. They are great resources. But also ask your teachers, because they are more than willing to email you or talk to you or even set up help session webinars for you. Anything to make sure that if you are reaching out for help, they are there for you. So make sure that you utilize that, because it can help you so much with getting the grades that you want and understanding the things that you want to and not feeling frustrated. With that, you want to work hard, because it really does pay off if you work hard, and you will succeed at Branson if you're willing to find a way and use all the tools available to you. You'll want to stay on track when you're working on your assignments, like we've been talking about. And with that, don't let late assignments go. As soon as you see that you have a missing assignment or you have a late one and you're thinking, oh, I really don't know how to make that up, you're going to want to finish that as soon as possible. Some teachers will have it so that you cannot start the next week's work until you get everything in. And that is right of them. You should not let that stay a zero. You need to not allow yourself to have missing assignments at all if you can possibly help it. They have great grace periods for when you really do need extra time to make up assignments, and you can talk to any teacher and negotiate on that if you absolutely need that. But if you don't have an extenuating circumstance, make sure that you are working hard and that you don't let those assignments slide. Don't procrastinate, because weekly assignments can snowball, and that's not a fun place to be stuck. Especially in a math class or a tougher science class or something where everything builds upon itself, you're going to want to make sure that you have your work done for 1 week. That way, the next week you aren't completely lost. So due dates versus due dates. Just because you have until Thursday or later to turn in something doesn't mean you can wait to start the hard work. So it's better to be a little bit ahead and let your teachers catch up to you on grading than it is for you to be behind and have a bunch of missing assignments, and now they're all docked points and now you're behind and you just get frustrated. And so take the time on the Fridays or the weekends to work if you have that time, or to work even harder during the work week if you don't have that time. Just make sure that you are getting done what you need to get done. That way, it's so much easier for you. Even though you may not think it is, sometimes it will be so much easier once you see the other side of having to make up things. So all of this can be pretty stressful to figure out, especially if you are naturally a procrastinator or you find yourself just getting crazy distracted even though you want to be working. Between everything that you're doing, whether it's schoolwork or sports or jobs or family duties and everything else that you end up having in your life, you can end up pretty quickly with a week that is so packed full of everything that you have to do that you aren't actually enjoying anything. So make sure that you schedule your schoolwork in such a way that you have time to spend with others, and you're budgeting your time carefully so that you can incorporate your favorite activities into things and not get burned out, and do things that really matter to you, and make sure that you get your schoolwork done so that you have time to do that. So it makes it so much easier if you work that way. And I think actually that might be the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I will definitely take those.
Great, thank you so much, Casey. As I mentioned at the beginning, go ahead and you can either shoot your questions into the questions box. They'll come to me and I'll relay them to Casey and she can answer. Or if you would rather, you're also welcome to just go ahead and raise your hand in that webinar. And if I see that, I'll go ahead and just unmute you, and then you're welcome to use your microphone as well. Sometimes that's a little bit easier than having to type it all out. But any questions you have, as she mentioned, she is a veteran Branson School Online student. She's going into her senior year. She's been very successful here. And so if you have anything you just kind of want to bounce off of her, anything that you wonder how she does versus maybe what your teacher has told you to do, or kind of what you're seeing to work and not work, feel free to shoot those out. Also, right now, while I'm thinking about it and while you're maybe coming up with your questions, anyone who does attend these sessions or presents at this time and moving forward is eligible for extra credit in the class of their choice. So it's kind of just a little incentive to get students here. So after this session, you're welcome to email any of your teachers. It doesn't have to be any, a specific class, any of your teachers, just one of them though, not more than one, and say, I attended the high school mentor session and I would like to get extra credit in your class. We keep a running document for us teachers where then that teacher will just check your name off the list. Yep, the student used their extra credit in my class. That's how we know when A, it gets used, and B, that it's not getting double used, but just kind of a little incentive for you. So don't forget to use that extra credit. And like I said, it will depend on how much it is, depending on the class and the teacher, but all of the teachers are on board for that. Okay, good question. Casey, one of our students is wondering what you're wanting to do for a career.
I want to be a physical therapist. I've actually wanted to go into the medical field for a long time, and for quite a while now I've wanted to be a physical therapist, so I'm planning on majoring in something like kinesiology or health and exercise science, so that's kind of a prerequisite to physical therapy.
Awesome. Excellent. Other questions, comments, concerns, anything else you want to hear from Casey before we wrap up today? Again, go ahead and throw those in the comments or the questions box, or raise your little webinar hand, and that works as well. Again, while you're thinking of those, I did put together just a quick feedback form that I'm going to go ahead and throw out to all of you. And give me just 1 second. And if you guys wouldn't mind filling out this form, should come to you in a link. I'll also include this in an email to homeroom teachers, so you can access it through homeroom teacher as well. But just kind of lets me know what you thought of the session, what you would like to use other sessions for, how you'd like to see other sessions happen, and especially if you have any other topics. Last year we had some great topics. We opened it up to all students. We saw things like note taking. We had one on organizing your schedule. We had one on making friends when you're attending a school out of your home. Those types of things. So nothing is out of the order or out of the question. We're going to continue these monthly, so we'll see them all year long. Please take a few minutes to fill out that form and kind of give me some feedback. Okay, so good question about the extra credit. Does it have to be used every week, or can it be used when you have a bad grade? So here's the way the extra credit will work. Each mentor session you attend, you are eligible for extra credit in just one class, and it can be the same class each time. So I'm the geometry teacher. Let's say that you decide you want to use your extra credit in geometry. You would just email me, "Hi, Mrs. Nedved. I attended the mentor session on August 23rd. I'd like to use my extra credit in your class." Now, I know it's only the second week, and that's maybe you don't know yet where you want to use extra credit. That's totally fine. Definitely make sure you use it, though, within the month, but you can give yourself a couple of weeks to kind of see, hey, this class I had a bad quiz on. Maybe I want to use it there, and that will be fine. That, like I said, that document stays open. You should have got, did you guys see the form come through? If you look in your questions box, there should have been like a Google form link. Can someone let me know if they saw that, or can you let me know if you're not seeing that? Okay, Jaden saw it. Anybody else? I might have actually just sent it to Jaden. Oh, good. Okay, others see it. Perfect. So, Josie, are you seeing it now? Oh, no, it wasn't Josie. Sorry, that was Jaden who asked. And now it looks like she sees it. Okay, great. Obviously, the form is not mandatory, just something there. Any other questions before we go ahead and wrap up for today? Anything else you'd like to hear from Casey? Any other feedback, questions for how she kind of gets along in our online school? Okay, I'm going to take your silence as no question. So thank you so much to Casey for presenting for us. I think you did a wonderful job, and you have some great tips in there. Hopefully, I'll see most of you again in a future session. Look for time and topic, and probably coming up in a couple weeks. And please fill out that form. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, that's all I've got for you. You're free to take off. Thanks for coming.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome. Bye, Casey. Jaden says, have a great day, Casey.